What's up, guys? I was hanging out with my buddy John today, and he was my gym buddy when I was doing steroids. We were in rehab together, and well, he's just starting to wake up to his own gang stalking protocol. I don't know if I mentioned it in one of my other videos, but he said that he was on the bus last week and there was a guy who was basically following him on foot, and he came up to him the first day. He noticed it and he asked him for a cigarette, and they started talking about the bus routes and whatever. And then they got on different buses, went their own separate ways, and then that was on a Friday. Then on a Monday, he saw the same guy and acted like he didn't even know him. He didn't even say what's up or anything. And I'm going into too many details, but he acted like he didn't know my buddy John the second time he saw him. And then finally the third time he saw him, my buddy calls me up. He said, you know what, I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos. My friend John calls me and he says, you know, dude, I'm about to fuck this guy up. Like, this dude's following me. Excuse me. And I picked him up today and took him to his probation appointment. And everything went fine. It's just that his probation officer was really like giving him a hard time about, she wanted to see proof of address, proof of residence, and all this and that. And she was giving him a really hard time about how he'd missed a couple probation appointments and whatnot. And she was making him come in twice a month, once every other week. And they usually only do that when you file as being homeless. And he's not homeless. He lives out of county. He lives about 5 hours away, and he has to take the bus. He has to take the train to to where his probation appointment is. And he did have a car, but it broke down, and the engine seized up on him. And there was nothing wrong with the car before that. And I was telling him, I asked him, I said, was there anything wrong with the car before it broke down? He said, no, there was nothing wrong. And then when he brought up this guy following him, I said, well, dude, have you ever thought about the fact that your car might have been tampered with? He said, you know what? Yeah, I thought about that. And my buddy John he's a black guy. And so that's probably why the only reason I brought up my own case of my gang stalking with him is because the more I talk about it, like I've said before, is that the more I notice a lot of black people are like, shit, you too, man? Yeah, you too? Fuck yeah, what the fuck? What's the deal with that? So, this guy with his brights on right now. Anyway, yeah, he's probably the only reason. That's probably the only reason I brought it up to him. Is not okay. Hold on, let me rephrase that. It's not fuck. I kind of lost my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, he's a black guy, and he's starting to wake up to his own gang stalking. And for some reason, I brought him into his probation appointment today, and his probation officer is finally being cool all of a sudden. And I just thought that was kind of weird. She was like, you know what, you're fine, you're good to go, you're in compliance. And this whole time she's been threatening to arrest him for not being in compliance and this and that. And it's like, you know, fucking like, and he tells me what they talk about, and it's like, dude, I keep telling him, like, dude, you need to record this bitch as you go in there. And he's a smart guy. He does his homework. He was calling her supervisor, you know, telling him, look, this bitch is really giving me a hard time. Like, she's really giving me a hard time. Like, she's saying I'm not in compliance. She made him get the ankle monitor, the alcohol monitor, and this and that. And I just think it was kind of weird that she's starting to be cool now, because it's the last time I took him 2 weeks ago. I was having a really hard day that day, and yeah, they followed me into the probation office. I think I mentioned that in my video. And fucking, this video is gonna be really shaky. I'm on the freeway right now, so just wanted to make a quick video. So yeah, God damn it, every time I start recording I forget what I want to say. Yeah, you know, my house manager asked me this morning, somebody was trying to get into somebody got into his cell phone. He had an Android. Somebody hacked it or whatever. They sold all of his personal information and his passwords and his financial information. They tried to, I mean, they got a hold of that somehow, but they didn't get too far with it. Anyway, he got LifeLock and whatever. This was last week, and finally this morning he asks me, hey, what kind of cell phone do you have? I said, the iPhone. He said, what kind? iPhone 6. Why? I said, okay. Well, I'm putting together, I just pinged a bunch of IP addresses in the local area from, as he was sitting from inside the house. He said, I just pinged, you know, whoop-de-whoop or whatever. And so I said, okay, you don't think I'm doing it, do you? He said, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think somebody's trying to get at me from inside the house. Well, I said, well, it's interesting you say that, because somebody's been trying to get into my fucking computer, like, at least, you know, over the last few days. They've been trying to get into my fucking computer like 12 times a day, 10 times a day. And I told him this. He said, well, all right, I have my own list of IP addresses that I've compiled. And I said, well, shit, hold on. You know, I have this program on my computer that tells me excuse me, that tells me the IP addresses of these people that are trying to get into my computer. And he says, well, I offered him, I said, you know what, let me give you this list. Let's compare what IP addresses you have. And he said, okay, yeah, let's go do that right now. So we go into the room where my backpack is. I pull out my computer, and I launch the program, and the little link that lets me view the reports is unavailable. It just will not fucking show up on the screen. I'm starting to get kind of pissed right at this point. And so he says, all right, well, here, we'll set that aside for now. Do me a favor and call this number. He asked me to call. He mentioned a friend of his that can help him hack. He's like a hacker or whatever. I guess he's pretty hot shit or whatever. But he said, call this number, 1-800 blah blah blah. I can't remember the number, but I'm not sure who I would be dealing with if I fucking put him out there on the spot anyway. But I call the number 4 times and the fucking call drops, or the call failed, like, before it even rings once. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, dude? Like, someone's fucking with me. Like, he brings up And the manager is really confident in this guy. He knows this guy is hot shit. I'm like, okay, so this guy can actually get something done. So as soon as we start creating some countermeasures, you know, I can't even pull up the reports to give him the IP addresses, and I can't even dial the phone number that he's giving me. So he's like, all right, just go get the house phone, blah blah blah, whatever. Anyway, at that point, I had to leave to go pick my buddy up, and it was early in the morning. It was like 8 o'clock. So I said, well, you know what? We'll put it on the back burner. We'll worry about it when I come home tonight. So he said, all right, that's fine. So 12:30 in the afternoon rolls around, and he calls me up as I'm with my friend John, and he says, hey, I'm heading over to this guy's place right now. What kind of phone did you say you have? I said, an iPhone 6. Why? He said, what kind of computer? I said, I have a Mac. Why? He says, all right, I'm just checking. So, all right, blah, blah, all right. So he hangs up. And then about 2 minutes later, he calls me back. And then he asks me, he goes out of his way to call me and ask me what service provider I have for my cell phone. And I felt like kind of an idiot, but I told him anyway. I said, you know, XYZ. And he says, all right, cool. So, says, I'm about to meet up with him in about 15 minutes. He's gonna put this program on my computer. It's gonna help me find out whoever's trying to get into my phone, my fucking getting all of my information or whatever. So I said, okay, cool. And then he mentions, you know, if he helps you, he might have to, you know, remotely access your computer and whatnot. I said, wait, hold on. I don't think I'm all right with that, you know, in my head. But out loud, I'm telling him, you know, okay, yeah, yeah, tell me more. Anyway, so get off the phone with him, and then he calls me back. He calls me back at about 4:30. Says, hey, this guy fucking put a catch trap on my phone, or trap catch or whatever. It's like a honey pot or a honey trap or something like that. I don't know. He said what it does is well, I don't remember what he said, what it does, but he put some kind of like a bait credit card on there. It's like, it's some linked to some kind of a trick that the FBI uses, and I guess this guy is really hot shit, and his hacker buddy, and so, you know, in the interim, I'm thinking, you know, fuck, I think my manager might even be trying to set me up, you know, and so as I'm on my way home, like within this last 45 minutes, I'm talking to my dad, and I tell him about all this. He says, you know what fucking, do you remember any of the first 3 digits of these IP addresses? Were any of them 192? I said, yeah, a couple of, at least 1 or 2 of them were 192. He said, okay, well, those numbers, those IP addresses are coming from within your own network. And he said, this sounds fishy. I think your manager is trying to set you up. So I'm like, all right. You know, that had occurred to me too. I need to stop volunteering so much fucking information. Anyway, so yeah, and he said, are any of these, do you remember any of these other, the first couple of digits of any of these IP addresses? I said, yeah, one of them was 70 dot blah blah blah. He said, okay, that's a Mac. It sounds like a Mac, I think that's what he said. And like a 243 something, I don't know. Anyway, he said a 192, I believe it was, is coming from within your own network. And I said, okay, this is starting to sound a little more, it's starting to make sense, because it doesn't make sense, but it's, I think I'm starting to get the picture. I think my manager might be trying to fucking pull a fast one, because he's from what all the residents at the house are saying, like him and the owner are into some fucking credit card fraud. I mean, my manager was tripping a week ago about, somebody somebody got a hold of his phone. He let them use it, and he said fucking they had it for about a minute, and they handed it back to him. Some girl. And I said, okay. And your phone's been acting weird ever since. This was about a week ago. He said, yeah, my phone's been acting fucking weird ever since. So I said, okay, look, whatever you're into, stop what you're doing. Don't make any phone calls. Don't send any emails. You know what I'm talking about. Fucking just turn your phone off, because I guarantee you this person put a spy app on your phone or something. They're trying to fucking set you up, Randolph. And this guy's like between 65 and 72 years old, and I don't know, he just fucking, he doesn't take advice really well, and I don't know, he thinks he's dealing with complete morons. Anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know, I'll keep you guys updated on that. I just thought it was kind of interesting because, I actually started talking about this whole gang stalking thing with Randolph. I didn't call it by its name because I really don't like the name gang stalking. It gives these people an unfair, not an unfair advantage, but it just sounds, it sounds kind of ominous for them. It's like, these people are fucking pussies. It's like, they're piss ants. I don't know, TIs, we're gonna have to come up with some other kind of name for gang stalking. It's like Garucha LaJoe has a video, I haven't seen it yet, but effectively it says that we need to come up with a different name than gang stalking, and we need to call ourselves something else than targeted individuals, because one thing, it gives the gang stalk, it gives these people too much power. And, I mean, other people have said this before, a targeted individual, it puts you by yourself, it puts us by ourselves, and I just think it's bullshit. And I think both of those terms are the brainchild of these people in one form or another. It's like they came up with it, they spat it out on the internet, fucking during its inception or whatever. People just ran with it. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. I think I'm gonna keep my laptop off, my phone off during the night when I go to sleep from now on, because somehow a fucking like 800 megs, like almost a full gig of my data was used up last night between like 2 and 3 in the morning, and this was right when I went to sleep. I for the life of me, even if I was awake, I could not fucking get YouTube to play any videos for me at all. Like, it would play for 2 seconds, it would buffer, and then I don't know, it was really kind of pissing me off, because every time I went to flip the lid on the monitor down, I was like, fucking, it would start playing, and it's like, like, fuck you people, like, I don't know, anyway, I'll get back to you guys and cut it off before it reaches 20 minutes, but anyways, I'll get back at you, like I've said. Thanks for watching, guys.